What's the logic, like the science behind it that makes it time? I don't understand. If I knew the science and the reasoning behind Demi being a time magic instead of a black magic, I would be much less resistant to the idea, you know? Do I want to do the south wall or the north wall? I have a general idea of what each one is from memory. As I said, it's been years, so I don't remember which one would be more, Yeah, but it's not what is gravity? That is my argument, is what does gravity have to do with time? What does time have to do with gravity? At its scientific core, gravity is the force caused by the core of a planet or a body in the universe. I normally do North Wall too because I know what it is, but I don't know if it's smart with this team. Because it essentially renders my monks useless. That's why I was asking. You know, my monks don't have... They have the highest jump of my team, but they don't have teleport. And they don't have ignore height. The north wall, I generally consider easier. But, typically because I have all teleports by now. So it becomes a very fast-paced, knock down all the pawns type of fight, rather than a actual strategic placement and whatnot. I don't know if I'm gonna... No, fuck it. I want to make the jump, not fail the jump. Yeah, that doesn't make sense to me, because it does and it doesn't at the same time, now that I think about it, like, deeper, while I'm trying to formulate my opinion. Or put it into words, rather. Because they've built up Bethel Garrison since Chapter 2 as this impregnable fortress. So it would make sense that both sides are armed to the teeth. At the same time, you'd think one wall would have a weakness. And to an extent, the north wall has the weakness, because it has the well, if you couldn't, there wouldn't be guards at the north and south wall. And that's another weird situation with Bethel Garrison, is it's this impregnable fortress, but yeah, that's why it's weird. And what I was getting into. Typically, fortresses are built along cliff sides so that there's only one entrance. So it doesn't make sense in either way. At the same time, when you look at it, when you're on the south wall, you're in the wall. You're already in the wall. So maybe you already scaled the wall and you're caught by the archers and the guards that are just sort of positioned there for the sake of security. But yeah, I mean, you wouldn't typically expect an attack from the back, so that does call for some concern. When you have three sides that you wouldn't have an army against, you wouldn't be expecting anyone. So that's concerning, but the rest of it not too much, because you should have people on all sides of the wall if you're being secure. Even if it's a side that is literally impossible to scale. Even if just for the sake of scouting the ocean. Or the land below it, however the cliffs are positioned. Scouting's just as important, but those people typically wouldn't be armed with anything more than maybe a short sword. Maybe a bow? I don't know. But this is thinking of like the time when castles and forts were the thing. I don't think I'm making that. I did make it. You're out of range. I hear cats. They just ran off yelling at each other. I also don't understand why like none of the Lancer AIs like to jump on me, except for Islode. Vormav's son. Has confused and eluded me to this day. I'd love to know the explanation. Because it could be as simple as they don't know any, which my reaction would be why, but I could live with that. This is true, but I mean, their AI isn't really that sophisticated. If it was, it wouldn't be that easy to manipulate their melee enemies' movements. It does end up more sophisticated. Yeah, but they also know if they'll be able to land a spell or not, but that doesn't stop a wizard from trying to cast Fire 2 on my monk, who's literally going to take a turn right after it starts casting it. And it had proceeded to move into said monk's positioning. Kinda my point. Yes, but that doesn't account for the fact that it moved right next to the monk that's going to take the next turn. My point isn't that it understands spell versus jump or if it'll land it or not, but whether or not it'll actually do it. That's not sophisticated then, because if it sees a class that can only attack within one square, it should know. Of course, a PlayStation 1 game wouldn't really be able to have that kind of sophistication. But that's kind of my point. Is why is it sophisticated in one way and not another? It eludes me. And I do accept it, but it's still a little confusing. This scene is really nice, because it finally brings out to the open Dice Dark's true intentions that you've already suspected and everybody has told you. At the same time, it calls into question Zalbag's loyalty, the last of the Beowulf brothers, who we don't really know much about in terms of his position on things. So, I like every scene in the game, because it all has a meaning and ties in really well. But, that's why I kind of explain it. My take on it, anyway. Hell, it could be far from the intention. But, it's my take, so... I don't really remember the next fight, to be perfectly honest. I bet I will the moment I see the floor. Like the layout. Never mind. I remember. And I think I know why I forgot. This was one of the few fights... yes. This is one of the few fights that, I had to redo over and over and over again until I got it right. And it wasn't because I wasn't prepared, it was because I just wasn't doing it right. And it's a difficult fight, no matter, it can be a difficult fight no matter what. It shouldn't be, considering I've duped the Defender Sword. For the sake of easing my pain. That doesn't make it any less lengthy, though, sadly. I found them about the same. The execution fight stumped me longer because I was about its level. This one I was not. Oh, I can't hit him. Huh. Okay then. Can I hit you? The execution fight, not only was it 5v8, it was, your positioning is so awful. You had to put two of your characters in the middle of their entire team. And that is what caused more problems than anything for me for that fight. Luckily, this fight is easier in that those two knights will never move unless they have to. So if you just ignore those guys until the end of the fight, it's a 5v6. Which is much more even odds. Well, it's still 5v8 because they will attack you. They will defend themselves. And they will move if they get to critical state. But it's not a true 5v8 in that they won't leave the position they're in unless absolutely necessary. Archers would make more sense. Not story-wise, be honest with you, but challenge-wise. Because typically you wouldn't assign an archer to guard duty. It would be the squires or the knights. Someone who you either needs the experience or you know can get it done. Or someone you don't have, like if it's a job that isn't very taxing and they don't expect it to be a problem, it's a squire's job. Because then they can have their knights do something else, etc. But a squire wouldn't make sense in this fight, challenge-wise. So. We're pretty much done with the fight because we ignored these guys. As sad as that is to say, but it's true. All I've got left is those guys and the archer. I made it! And this is why it's so long. It's because in order to finish this fucking fight, those guys have to disappear. So the fight sort of ends with, Does it actually do anything? Because I've never actually walked into depth 4. I've never walked into depth 3 either. Because depth 2 doesn't allow you to move. I don't think that's gonna hit. Oh, it did hit. Nice. Well, since I can't do anything for a little while, we're gonna just sit here. Interesting. It seems weird that they would skip a depth. Yeah. Best part about this fight, isn't it? The oh my god. It's so good it makes me want more. I do have a question, because I'm not very versed in it, and I don't know the answer. Wouldn't that kill your chocobo, though? Like, that seems pretty cruel. Anyway, question. How does permanent bravery work? Like, when you... I know when you get bravery, it gives you a percentage of it permanently. But exactly how does that work? Because I've never raised my permanent bravery with Scream, and if I can use it on other people, I'd like to do it with Orlando because it would be faster. But I need to know the details. So it would work with Scream's self. Never mind. I answered my own question. 25% though. That's not bad. And that makes a lot of sense. Mathematically it does make sense, so thank you for answering. I answered my own question, the other question, but that does help answer it better, with more clarity, if you will. Normally I just sit here and wait, but since I'm not 99, why do that? Med. Mediator? I'm fine with 97, to be perfectly honest. That's close enough to 100. So might as well be 100. Like, even with a 1 at 1%, 3% is negligible, and I doubt it's even that. So, yeah. 97 is just fine. Plus it gives me a reason to grind before we go to Limberry. Now we all know I want to do that. Yay! First time I did this, when this happened, my mind was blown. Because I was like, oh, that's how you do it. Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed either. I mean, it's so outside the realm of possibility. Oh, it's so bad that I would actually say that. Oh, there's the crystal. Boom! I'm making really funny noises. But if you can hear them, I don't know if the noise gate is blocking them. I really hope so, but I doubt it. It has to sound really gross though if you can hear them. I don't remember, but doesn't Ramza have to step on both levers? It can't be somebody else. For some reason, I feel like it has to be Ramza. I really want to just like... There's a part of me that wants to be able to do that. Do that without having to wait for it, but it would be so difficult. Anyway, the question was, fuck, what was the question? Oh, does Ramza have to be the one to step on both levers? I knew the answer once upon a time, but I don't anymore. So, I had to ask. Yeah, and I kind of expected it to be. Maybe not in the PSP version because that's more sophisticated. But on the PlayStation 1 it would seem that only characters that are relevant to the plot would have like cutscene-like sections. And since that was a cutscene-like section of the battle, I would assume it would have to be him. Of course, if it had been my first playthrough, I would have just tried it. So now we're getting Orlando. Just take in that sword for a minute.